And ready to roll. Let me change my view so I can see where we're at.
Ready when you are.
Board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Present.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans.
Present.
Alderman Page.
Present.
Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderman Coder.
Here.
Alderwoman Rice.
Present.
Alderman Gunther.
Here.
Alderman Balmer.
Present.
Alderwoman Martin. Alderman Stevens.
Here.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Present.
Alderwoman Howard.
Present.
Alderwoman Green.
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Peel.
Present.
Alderman Todd.
Present.
Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Collins Muhammad. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro.
Present.
Alderman Narayan.
Here.
Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Here.
Alderwoman Boyd. Alderwoman Navarro. President Reed.
Here.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Present.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderwoman Martin. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer.
Thank you.
Alderman Muhammad.
All right. Here.
So we are at
Alderman Boyd. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderwoman Navarro. 19 present.
Quorum being present, I don't know if the pastor is with us today. Quorum being present, we begin the day with prayer. Giving all honor to God, Almighty God, source of all authority, we humbly ask guidance in our deliberations and wisdom in our conclusions. Amen. We dispense with line item 3, introduction of honor guests. Any introduction of honor guests? Alderman from the 23rd.
As always, I'd like to have my good friend Greg Meyer as my special guest. I know he's listening, and I would ask to do that in bank, but I don't think we do that way. But I always tease.
All right. So Greg Myers, welcome to the board. Sure, this is your first attendance. Any further introductions? Before we go to the alderman from the 10th, we'll come back to this line item because I was just notified that the alderman from the 6th, you have a special presentation, and are all your people here now and ready to go?
Yes, we're ready.
All right, so alderman from the 19th, you recognize on motion for the courtesy resolutions calendar. Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the motion for the courtesy resolutions calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the courtesy resolutions calendar.
Been moved by the Alderman from the 10th, entertain a second on that.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderman from the 9th and a couple others. Alderman from the 6th, you recognized on, I believe it's resolution number 60.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to pause for a moment before we start the meeting to send our thanks to Stephen Acree. Many of you have worked with him in his capacity at RHCDA, which is now RISE Community Development. He has undertaken an impressive amount of affordable housing work, $300 million in residential development, 1,200 units of affordable housing in the city of St. Louis, and all over, including East St. Louis and Ferguson as well. He has received awards too numerous to mention. It took up over an entire paragraph on his resolution. And RISE has also undertaken neighborhood planning efforts in the Gravois Jefferson corridor, the Ferguson Comprehensive Plan, and the Winstanley Neighborhood Plan in East St. Louis. He has also played an integral role in the Missouri Workforce Housing Association, which was started in 2009. It's a statewide affordable housing professional organization and advocacy group that helped restore the Missouri low-income housing tax credits here in the state of Missouri. He has also served as a mentor and helped launch the careers of many of our community development professionals here in the St. Louis region, and is a lifelong resident of the city of St. Louis, has lived in Lafayette Square for nearly 40 years, started out without hot water in that home. He was restoring windows in exchange for rent. Stephen is also an adventure traveler, and one of his favorite things to do is to jump from high places. Once made an 829-foot jump from the top of the stratosphere in Las Vegas. So I just wanted to pause today to let any alderman who would like to say some words of thanks for Stephen's incredible career, and let him say a few words if he is interested in doing that as well.
Great. Thank you, Alderwoman. I'll open up for any discussion, any questions or comments. Discussion. Well, I'll start it out. Alderman from the 25th.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is definitely a kind of bittersweet resolution. It's one of those moments where you have someone who's very active in the community, who's done so many wonderful things, who's taking another journey in their life, and while we'll miss them and their previous capacity, very excited about their new journey, their new chapter. I have to say thank you to Stephen. He has been a wonderful partner for projects in the 25th Ward. I think one in particular that comes to mind, although there's several, but one in particular that comes to mind are the apartments along South Spring Avenue. They were, at the time I was elected 12 years ago, I used to joke that it was a Sodom and Gomorrah of my neighborhood. It was about, I think, 24, 25 buildings that were all vacant, about 100 units at the time, right behind a high school, and just all sorts of activity. As all of us know, when there's a huge amount of vacancy, that all sorts of illicit activity takes place in those vacant buildings. But it was an entire block, the entire 4,700 block of South Spring was vacant, derelict, and just in really awful condition. The buildings to the north of it on the 4,600 block of Spring were also vacant at the time. So it was basically an entire section of my ward that just looked nightmarish. I think at the time, we also had like 2,000 calls for police service in a year to those blocks, just because of the numerous activities that were taking place there. But I had worked to get a grant from the Department of Economic Development of the state of Missouri, and I couldn't find anyone, literally any developer, that would take on this project. And I showed up at Stephen's house on my hands and knees, and I literally begged him and Rise, RHCDA at the time, to please help me and my neighbors with this project. And told him about the few $1 million that we were getting from the DED, and talked about various other commitments that we thought we might be able to make happen. And he said, "Let me think about it." But over the course of probably about 3 years, or maybe longer, we were able to get that project done. It was a project of love for me, but I know it was a project that he and the organization were very committed to, and it has made a world of difference in my neighborhood. And so, again, it's just one out of many. I think at the time we also had another nonprofit developer that had gone bankrupt, went into foreclosure. A lot of their properties went into foreclosure. RHCDA kind of interceded and helped with that. But time and time again, with community planning processes, partnering with our CDC, the partnership has been just a tremendous asset to Dutchtown and other neighborhoods throughout the city. And Stephen, your efforts, championing those, will forever, be cherished from my perspective. So I can't thank you enough. I think we've, formed a wonderful friendship over the years. And while I'm sad to see you leave Rise, I'm very excited for you to be able to, have this new chapter in your life as well.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say a quick thank you as well to Stephen. I truly appreciate the leadership that you provided for the Jefferson Gravois Neighborhood Planning Initiative. I know that was almost 3 years of getting neighbors together to develop a plan as to bringing about equitable development into the parts of the
We lost you, Alderman. We lost you. We can see your mouth move, but we're not getting any volume. We'll come back to you. Alderman from the 22nd.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Mr. President, members of the board. I certainly like to say thank you to Stephen. I met Stephen back in the late 90s when it was RHCDA, and I was a brand new executive director pretty much of a local community development corporation, and just enthusiastic and excited about bringing new development to the 22nd Ward and the Hamilton Heights neighborhood at the time. And I applied for a capacity building grant because that's what we needed in that organization to really get to the next level. And I remember as I was putting the application together, it was getting close to 5 o'clock, and it was around 3 or so. And I'm making the 5 copies that's necessary, and the copy machine jammed. And I had papers in my hand, and they literally flew out all over the office. And I called Stephen. I was like, "Stephen, I don't know if I can make it by 5 o'clock. I'm struggling. The papers just flew everywhere." And he said, "Get it done. Get here." And fortunately, I made it there on time, and we got awarded the grant. And it's been a great experience. I've considered Stephen, along with Barbara Geisman, I met her around the same time, as mentors of mine in this community development space. He's rich with a lot of knowledge, always willing to give free advice. And I appreciate all the service that you have done to for our region, Stephen. Even though we didn't get a chance to partner in the 22nd Ward, for brick and mortar, but we have partnered when it came to capacity building and, giving good advice to the neighborhood organizations to kind of, help them out to move to the next level. So again, thank you for all your service to St. Louis, and have a happy retirement.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderwoman from the 17th.
Thank you, President Reed and members of the board. Hi, Stephen. This is wonderful to honor you in you going to retirement. I've worked with Stephen back in about 2012 with the start of the Spanish Lake CDC. And I and another person began the Spanish Lake CDC from scratch. And RISE came in to help with some technical assistance in the first year that I was executive director of the organization, and it was phenomenal. And the Spanish Lake CDC is still going on up there doing affordable housing. And now I am fortunate enough to continue to work with RISE regarding the light tech in the 17th ward. You have created a phenomenal organization, and the successor and how you've been able to have successors in this is great. And again, congratulations.
All right. Alderman from the 22nd, your hand is still up. I don't know if you still had something. Any further discussion? Any further discussion or comments?
Mr. President,
Yeah.
I have some work going on here in my home, so I have a little bit of trouble with noise in the background, but I do want to deeply thank all of you. I'm very touched and take to heart all of the kind words that have been said, and I've appreciated working with all of you over the years and what has been really a joy to me in the work that I've been able to do in the city. So thank you all so much.
All right, thank you, Stephen. And I also just want to tell you, thank you for all the work that you did with me when I was Alderman of the 6th Ward. And I think the comments from the Alderman from the 22nd captured a lot of it. For those of you who don't know Stephen and haven't got an opportunity to meet Stephen, when it's time to get it done, Stephen can be very direct and and help to get you over the hump. And if you're confused about something, he can really begin to paint the picture for you so that you understand the full implications of everything. So we did all sorts of work when I came in office in the 6th Ward, and I had an opportunity to be his alderman at the time, and he just I learned a lot from Stephen. I was disappointed when he took this current role because we worked closer together before, but now I'm just so happy that you have done that, because the work that you did since getting there has just been phenomenal. And congratulations on your retirement, brother. Alderman from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. With all of this gratitude, I would like to move that we embank this resolution.
Been moved by the Alderman from the 8th, seconded by the Alderman from the 19th, and the Alderman from the 25th that we adopt this resolution in bank. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Create another copy of the resolution in bank. And if any other alderman has any adjustments to that, you can notify the clerk. Anything further on that? Alderwoman from the 6th, you recognize the close on this.
Thank you, Mr. President. Stephen, congratulations on your retirement. As the Alderman from the 25th mentioned, it's very bittersweet, but you have also done the work that needed to be done to make sure that there are well-qualified, caring, compassionate folks to follow in your footsteps. And best of luck on all of your new adventures.
All right, let's give Stephen a round of applause. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt our courtesy resolutions calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. With that, we'll return our regular order of business. An introduction of honored guests. Any further introductions of honored guests? Alderman from the 10th like to wrap us up.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. We're gathered here on July 9th, which is National Sugar Cookie Day. Also, this is Tom Hanks' birthday. More importantly, on this day in 1956, Dick Clark made his first American bandstand show, and the spotlight dance featured the alderman from the 23rd that day. Thank you.
All right. The alderman from 23rd is quite the dancer. Approval of the minutes.
Approval of the minutes dated Thursday, July 1st, 2021.
Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move we approve the minutes from July 1st, 2021.
Second.
Moved by the Alderman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C of the agenda and has been placed in the Alderman mailboxes. Dear members of the board, according to the development agreement in section 2.14, authorized by ordinance 67411, I have the pleasure to submit the following individual for appointment to the Ballpark Village CID. The appointment of Mr. Neil Richardson, my designee, who resides in the 10th Ward, whose term will expire September 20th, 2023, replacing Otis Williams. I respectfully request your approval of the appointment. Sincerely, Tashara O. Jones, Mayor.
Alderman from the 7th, you recognize on the mayor's appointments to Ballpark Village Community Improvement District.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move to approve the mayor's appointment to the Ballpark Village CID.
Second.
Been moved by Alderman from the 7th, seconded by Alderman from the 25th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individual for reappointment to the Regional Convention and Sports Complex Authority. The reappointment of Mr. Earl Nance Jr., who resides in the 26th Ward. I respectfully request your approval of the appointment. Sincerely, Tashara O. Jones, Mayor.
Alderman from the 26th, you recognize on the mayor's appointment to the Regional Convention and Sports Complex Authority.
Commission and Sports Complex Authority.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 26th. Entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderman from the 4th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We dispense with line item 7. Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? We will dispense with line items 8 through 10. First reading of board bills.
Board Bill 81, sponsored by Alderman Todd, an ordinance authorizing the honorary street name Michael P. McMillan Way pursuant to ordinance 68937, which shall begin at the intersection of Albert Avenue and Page Boulevard and run north on Albert Avenue to the intersection of Albert and Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. Board Bill 82, sponsored by President Reed, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing the mayor or her designees to apply for and accept funds pursuant to federal appropriations under American Rescue Plan Act 2021, dated March 11, 2021, directing the comptroller to establish a new account for the receipt of funds to the extent received, appropriating certain expenditures of such funds to the extent received, authorizing contracts and intergovernmental agreements, and to expend the funds to the extent received, contain a severability clause and contain an emergency clause. That is the extent of first reading of board bills.
Reference to committee.
To the Streets Committee, Board Bill 81. To the HUD's Committee, Board Bill 82. That is the extent of reference to committee.
Second reading.
The following board bills were reported out of Transportation and Commerce Committee with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 11, sponsored by Alderman Coulter, an ordinance amending ordinance 66935, which ordinance relates to an original lease agreement dated January the 1st, 2006, as extended in 2010 and 2015 between the City of St. Louis, Missouri and Material Sales Company, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 15, sponsored by Alderwoman Middlebrook, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a new lease agreement between the City of St. Louis, Missouri and Centerpoint Terminal Company for a period of 10 years with 3 5-year mutual containing a severability clause. Board Bill 16, sponsored by Alderwoman Middlebrook, an ordinance amending ordinance number 688 4872, which ordinance relates to original lease agreement dated April 1st, 2011, to be extended in the first mutual option between the City of St. Louis, Missouri and Kiesel Company, a Missouri corporation containing a severability clause. Board Bill 17, sponsored by Alderwoman Middlebrook, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a new lease agreement between the City of St. Louis, Missouri and Terminal Row Association of St. Louis, Missouri Corporation containing a severability clause. Board Bill 18, sponsored by Alderwoman Middlebrook and Alderman Page, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a new lease agreement between the City of St. Louis, Missouri and Grossman Iron and Steel Company for a certain land at or near 21 through 99 and 14 North Market at 2226 North First Street in the city for a period of 10 years with 3 5-year mutual options containing a severability clause. Board Bill 21, sponsored by Alderman Page, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a new lease agreement between the City of St. Louis, Missouri and St. Louis Produce Market, a Missouri corporation for certain land consisting of 45,709 square feet at or near 2901 Hall Street in the city for a period of 10 years with 3 5-year mutual options for the purposes of vehicle and trucks of lessee or lessee's customers at an annual base rent of $11,427.40 with a 2% annual escalator for the first 10 years and contain a severability clause. Board Bill 44, sponsored by Alderwoman Middlebrook, an ordinance amending ordinance number 68681, which ordinance relates to original lease agreement dated July 20th, 2010, to be extended in the third mutual option between the City of St. Louis, Missouri and the ACBL Transportation Services, LLC, authorizing the execution of a third amendment to lease agreement between the city and lessee under certain terms and conditions attached hereto as Exhibit A and containing the severability clause. Board Bill 45, sponsored by Alderman Cone, an ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports and the Comptroller of the City of St. Louis to enter into and execute on behalf of the city the St. Louis Lambert International Airport lease agreement number AL217 between the city and Southwest Airlines Company. Its terms are more fully described in Section 1 of this ordinance containing a severability clause and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 47, sponsored by Alderman Coulter, an ordinance amending ordinance number 68964, which ordinance relates to an original lease agreement dated September 15th, 2011, between the City of St. Louis, a municipal corporation, and Fred Weber, Inc., a Delaware corporation, authorizing the execution of a First Amendment to lease agreement between the city and New Frontier Materials Operation Alpha LLC, as attached hereto as Exhibit A and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 48, sponsored by Alderman Coulter, an ordinance amending ordinance number 67298, which ordinance relates to original lease agreement dated January the 1st, 2007, and extended in 2016 between the City of St. Louis, a municipal corporation, and Fred Weber, Inc., authorizing the execution of a First Amendment to lease agreement between the city and New Frontier Materials Operation Alpha LLC, as attached hereto as Exhibit A and contain a severability clause. The following board bills were reported out of HUD's committee with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 2, Committee Sub as amended, sponsored by President Reed. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing the mayor or her designees to apply for and accept funds pursuant to federal appropriations under the American Rescue Plan Act 2021, dated March 11, 2021, containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 71, sponsored by Alderwoman Peel, an ordinance recommended by the Tax Increment Financing Commission of the City of St. Louis approving the City Foundry St. Louis Tax Increment Financing Second Amendment RPA 2 redevelopment plan and the revision to the redevelopment project for redevelopment project area 2 described therein, making findings with respect thereto and containing the severability clause. Board Bill 72, sponsored by Alderwoman Peel, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing the execution of amended and restated redevelopment agreement between the City of St. Louis, Missouri and FAPA Partners, LLC, and financing agreement between the City of St. Louis, Missouri and the Industrial Development Authority of the City of St. Louis, Missouri, prescribing the form and details of said agreements, authorizing other related actions in connection with such agreements, and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 73, sponsored by Alderwoman Peel. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing the City of St. Louis, Missouri to issue its taxable industrial development revenue bond series 2021 in a principal amount of not to exceed $125 million, authorizing and directing the taking of other actions and approval and execution of other documents as are necessary or desirable to carry out, comply with the intent thereof. The following board bill was reported out of public safety with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 61, sponsored by Alderman Oldenburg, an ordinance to make it unlawful for an individual to lift the door handles or otherwise try the door and locks of successive vehicles to gain entry to the vehicles unless the individual is the owner of the vehicles or has the owner's permission to enter the vehicle. The following board bills were reported out of Streets Committee with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 57, sponsored by Alderman Coulter, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface, and subsurface rights for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in 9th Street between Cole Street and Dr. Martin Luther King Drive in the City of St. Louis, Missouri, as hereinafter described in accordance with Charter Authority and in conformity with Section 1.4 of Article 21 of the Charter and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. Board Bill 66, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface, and subsurface rights for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel, beginning at 9th Street and continuing westwardly to its terminus and bounded by Olive Street, 9th Street, Pine Street, and 20th Street in the City of St. Louis, Missouri, as hereinafter described in accordance with Charter Authority and in conformity with Section 1.4 of Article 21 of the Charter and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. Board Bill 74, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to permanently close, barricade, or otherwise impede the flow of traffic at Lexington at the eastern curb line of Kings Highway, Memorial Boulevard, and contain an emergency clause. Board Bill 75, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 68455, authorizing the Director of Streets to open the permanently closed San Francisco Avenue 387 feet east of the eastern curb line at Kings Highway, Memorial Boulevard, and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 76, Committee Sub, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to permanently close, barricade, or otherwise impede the flow of traffic at Ashland at the western curb line of Marcus and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 80, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to permanently close, barricade, or otherwise impede the flow of traffic at Greer Avenue 375 feet east of the east curb line of Union Boulevard and contain an emergency clause. That is the extent of second reading report of standing committees.
Okay. Alderwoman from the first.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd move to suspend the rules so that I can move down Board Bill 74, 75, 76, committee substitute, and 80 to the perfection consent calendar. I did notify the clerk.
Okay, give me the list again. I know I saw the email earlier, but give me the list again.
74,
74,
75,
75,
76 committee substitute,
76 committee substitute,
and 80.
80.
And I actually would like to add that 76 committee substitute is also with Alderman Bosley. So
it's also with Alderman Bosley.
There are some of his streets in that board bill.
Okay. Okay. Alderman from the 7th.
I guess point of order, I was wondering if I could maybe tack a bill onto the Alderman from the first motion.
Oh, yes, yes. Yes, which one?
Board Bill 57, if she'd would be willing to add that to her motion.
Board Bill number 57.
Mr. Clerk. Mr. President.
Yeah.
I would, except for I don't want to get in trouble with Mr. Clerk because you have to have your board bills. So if you can, no, I'm just saying, because the rules are you have to have them on that agenda. So I got up this morning and did that.
I withdraw my request. Good point,
I just
Alderwoman.
don't want to get in trouble with the clerk, okay?
Thanks.
All right. Any other bills? Any other bills? All right. It's been moved by Alderman from the first.
Second.
Entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
Is that the Alderman from the 12th?
Yeah, it certainly is.
All right. Been moved by the Alderman from the first, seconded by Alderman from the 12th, that we suspend the rules for the purposes of moving the aforementioned bills down to the perfection consent calendar. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Page.
Aye.
Alderwoman Negracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder.
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderman Stevens.
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Peel.
Aye.
Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Collins Muhammad.
Start applying
Aye.
for jobs.
Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Vaquero.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro. President Reed.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Navarro. 25 aye votes.
By vote, you sustain the motion. Alderwoman from the first. Madam Clerk, please place the aforementioned bills on the third reading consent calendar.
Perfection, isn't it?
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, you can move it there. That'll be even better.
I'm thinking.
Go ahead. I like that.
I'm thinking ahead of.
Okay, but I like yours. I like your motion better than mine.
Yeah, the perfection consent calendar. Anything further before we move further? All right. So the other thing is we're going to call it. I just want to let the people know who have bills that are still on here. We're going to call an extra meeting next week to take up Board Bill 2, but also the rest of these bills so that we can get all of this stuff off the agenda before we go on break. So we'll have a next meeting first part of next week after discussions with the Vice Chair. Dispense with line item 14, perfection consent calendar.
Board Bill 28, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis and the following alderpersons: Evans, Todd, Coder, Cone, Ingracia, Narayan, Collins Muhammad, Clark Hubbard, Morton, Howard, Gunther, Pam Boyd, Page, Navarro, Peel, and Jeffrey Boyd. An ordinance establishing and creating the planned unit development district for city blocks 1868, 1880 to be known as Veterans Community Project Planned Unit Development District and contain the severability clause and an emergency clause. Board Bill 43, sponsored by Alderman Page, an ordinance approving a blighting study and redevelopment plan for 1428 Warren Street and 2514 Blair Avenue redevelopment area. Board Bill 52, sponsored by Alderwoman Spencer, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated May 25th, 2021 for the 3834 Virginia Avenue area. Board Bill 60, sponsored by Alderwoman Evans, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated May 25th, 2021 for the 3813, 3853 Garfield area. Board Bill 56, sponsored by Alderwoman Middlebrook, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface, and subsurface rights for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in the easternmost of the 20-foot wide east-west alley in City Block 4233 as bounded by Fort A. Thatcher East Railroad and Antelope in the city of St. Louis, Missouri, as hereinafter described in accordance with the Charter Authority and in conformity with Section 1.4 of Article 21 of the Charter and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. Board Bill 32, sponsored by Alderwoman Navarro and the following alderpersons: Howard, Schweitzer, Stevens, Rice, Green, Gunther, Peel, Todd, Cone, Page, Spencer, Morton, Narayan, Ingracia, and Clark Hubbard. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing the Director of the Department of Human Services on behalf of the City of St. Louis to accept a grant award from Fourth, an Oregon nonprofit corporation, in the amount of $60,000 for the purposes of funding transportation services to two senior centers to provide home delivered meals for senior citizens in the City of St. Louis, utilizing electric vehicles containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 74, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus. An ordinance directing the Director of Streets to permanently close, barricade, or otherwise impede the flow of traffic at Lexington at the eastern curb line of Kings Highway Memorial Boulevard and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 75, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus. An ordinance repealing ordinance number 68455, authorizing the Director of Streets to open the permanently closed San Francisco Avenue 387 feet east of the eastern curb line of Kings Highway Memorial Boulevard and contain an emergency clause. Board Bill 76, Committee Sub, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus and Alderman Bosley. An ordinance directing the Director of Streets to permanently close, barricade, or otherwise impede the flow of traffic at Ashland at the western curb line of Marcus and contain an emergency clause. Board Bill 80, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to permanently close, barricade, or otherwise impede the flow of traffic at Greer Avenue, 375 feet east of the east curb line of Union Boulevard and contain an emergency clause. That is the extension of perfection consent calendar.
Alderman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion for the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the perfection consent calendar.
Moved by Alderman from the 10th, entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman from the 14th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Board bills for perfection.
We have none.
Third reading and consent.
Board Bill 20 as amended.
Where are all the alderwomen from the first? Where are all of her bills? All right. Alderwoman from the 8th, you have something on.
I do. Mr. President, could we move Board Bill 20 as amended to the regular calendar just for discussion since this impacts us all?
Yes. Madam Clerk, please.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Place Board Bill number 20 as amended on the regular third reading calendar.
So noted.
Third reading consent.
We have none.
All right. Third reading report of engrossments.
Board Bill 20 as amended, sponsored by President Reed and Alderman Collins Muhammad, an ordinance repealing Ordinance 71025 concerning the establishment of policy for the disclosure of potential conflicts of interest and substantial personal interests and the reporting of certain personal financial interests as required under Section 105.483 Revised Statutes of Missouri, and in lieu thereof, enacting a new ordinance reestablishing and affirming said policies as required under Section 105.483 and containing an emergency clause.
Thank you. Alderman from the 21st, you recognize on third reading final passage of Board Bill number 20 as amended.
They sued, those interns sued.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the final passage of Board Bill number 20 as amended.
Moved from the 21st, and I think it's seconded by Alderman 14th.
So what I don't want you all to do all this work with creating your.
Somebody has their mic on. Could STL could take care of that. Alderman from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize to the Alderman from the 21st for the late notice on pulling this off to the regular calendar. This looks like a significant bill for transparency for the Board of Aldermen. And so I thought it would be good just to hear in your words what exactly we're changing here and how this will affect our operations and our transparency to the public. So if the Alderman from the 21st would yield or just respond, either way.
I will ask him to, I'll see if he'll yield, but it really it doesn't change anything. It's the language we take up every year. Alderman from the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Alderwoman Rice, this board bill does not change anything. This is an annual board bill that we do to be in compliance with state law under the Missouri Ethics Commission and legislation passed by the state legislator. So this doesn't change it. This does not change anything. This solidifies what we've already passed and solidifies our promise to stay in compliance with federal law and regulation.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that. I think there was some confusion because I know we've had discussion around changing some of our ethics and reporting. So I had gotten some questions from folks about whether this did change anything. So I appreciate the brief discussion, Alderman. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem, Alderman Rice. And I also tell you this, Kansas City actually models their legislation after ours here in the city of St. Louis as it relates to this conflict of interest and ethics legislation.
Great, thank you.
Alderman from the 1st.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd also just add that by us doing this, we do not have to do certain ethics disclosures because we have our own. So that is also part of the ethics rule that if we do not have our own, then we have to go through a different procedure. But since we have our own, then we avoid that additional compliance through the Ethics Commission.
Exactly right. Thank you, Alderman. Any further discussion? It's been moved by Alderman from the 21st that we third read and final pass Board Bill number 20 as amended. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley.
Aye. Aye.
Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Page.
Aye.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder.
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Vollmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderman Stevens.
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye. Aye. Excuse me.
Alderwoman
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Peel.
Aye.
Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Collins Muhammad.
Aye.
Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Aye.
Alderman Ryan.
Aye.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro. President Reed.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Navarro. 27 aye votes.
By vote, staying the motion, Alderman from the 21st and third read and finally passed the aforementioned bill. Report of enrollment.
Board Bill 20 as amended.
All other business being suspended, the president shall in open session affix his signature hereto to the end that these may become law. First reading of resolutions.
Resolution 57, sponsored by Alderwoman Ingracia, authorizing the provisions of a project exemption certificate in connection with the plan for an industrial development project for Deli Store Corporation.
Alderwoman from the 6th, you recognize on the first reading of resolution 57.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we send resolution 57 to the HUD's committee.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 6th. Entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderwoman from the 13th that we send resolution 57 to HUD's. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Sign resolution 57 to HUD's.
So noted.
Second reading,
We have none.
miscellaneous and unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Wednesday, July 14, 2021. Parks will have a meeting at 9 a.m. via webinar. Thursday, July 15th, 2021. Public Safety will have a meeting at 9 a.m. via webinar. Friday, July 16th, full board meeting 10 a.m. via webinar. That is the extent of the announcements.
Alderwoman from the 1st.
Mr. President and members of the boards, Streets will have a meeting at 11 a.m. on Wednesday, July 11th.
All right, Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Streets, Wednesday, July 11th at 11.
14.
Excuse me,
14th.
14th at 11. Get that, Madam Clerk?
So noted.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move to excuse the Alderman from the 16th and the 28th wards for necessary absence.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 10th. Entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
There was no second. I didn't hear it.
I know you were open for that. I was going to make several calls on that.
I didn't hear a second. Since you can't hear the no's, we can't hear that second.
Yeah, it's been moved by Alderman from the 10th, seconded by Alderman from the 14th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
My mic must have went out. I didn't hear any no's.
Must have
So
been.
motion carries. Alderman from 10th, you recognize on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move that we adjourn to Tuesday morning, July 13th at 10 a.m.
It's been moved.
What? Second.
It's been
Wait,
moved.
what?
No.
It's been moved by Alderman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 14th. Madam Clerk, you can't vote, so you you have to be here Tuesday. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Excuse me, can we have some discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry. All of them from the first.
So we're gonna have a meeting before the last meeting?
Yes, but all.
Well, then I need to move streets up. The reason why I was having streets is I thought we were gonna have it afterwards so that I could get the people's bills moved. I thought that's what we were doing.
I would like to move public safety up for the same reason.
Well, we still gonna have a final. We'll still have a meeting Friday, but
it won't be able in time to get those. The calendar gets messed up that way. I'm all joking aside.
Well, talk to the clerk when we wrap up and get them scheduled. The quicker we get out of this meeting, quicker you can get with the clerk and get everything scheduled.
But I thought we were going to have. I just understand. So we're not going to have a meeting after the Friday meeting. We're going to have a meeting before the Friday meeting. So we got to schedule our meetings for Monday.
Yes, we're going to meet. We're going to meet before the Friday meeting. Yes. So if you can talk with the clerk, and the clerk will get everything worked out. Alderman from the 25th. And all of them, just as a note, all of them from the first, you know that that motion to adjourn is a non-debatable motion. So no,
but I thought the announcement was about.
I know.
No, I'm sorry. I thought there was another announcement about when we were going to meet. Oh, a motion to adjourn to that date. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. It just threw me off because I was looking for the meeting to be announced after this. I'm sorry. I just don't want to mess up. There are some people who are trying to get their board bills through.
Yeah, I know. That's why I recognize you. That's
why.
Dan,
I thought you made a mistake.
No. Alderman from the 25th, do you have something relevant or?
Yeah, I was actually just asking, like, is it possible to move the special session to that Thursday so people can fit in?
No, we cannot move it to that Thursday because we have to have E&A in between. So we can't.
Or
we have to have time for E&A.
Okay.
So, yeah, we can't move it to Thursday.
Okay.
Thanks. All right. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Right.
Motion
Let's
carried.
stay longer.
Stand adjourned. See you Tuesday.
Not me.
See you next